very, very poor. We played in the streets, we skipped in the streets, we knocked down ginger, knocking at the doors and running away. It was all very simple, looking back. There was no television. Lots of people never even had radios and things, you know, we did. And as for having records to play with or anything, until I was a teenager, you weren't really aware of all sort of modern culture. Whereas we sort of began to think of it. We always loved the American comics if we could get them. Okay, yeah. Because we're fascinated by them. We loved to go to the pictures. That was, oh God.
How often did you go to the pictures?
Probably once a week, but as we got older we went 2 or 3 times a week. When we should have been going to evening classes or something, we'd go and see an American film, you know, the singing and dancing. And then there was a series of films that came out, there was all teenagers at college, you know, and we used to sit there and thought, oh, what a life. Well, it was like fairyland to us. I mean, how could you imagine having a life like that? Sitting in the milk bar and having their milkshakes and all looking pretty, and there was us in all our drab clothing. We just aspired, and after the war, you know, it's a long while before we were able to sort of just go in and buy things. My first pair of nylons, I queued for 3 hours. We used to go to a shop at the Elephant. This was when I was, what, 15, 16, I suppose. And they used to sell nylons on a Saturday morning. And the queues used to be way round the block for 1 pair of nylons. And if you laddered them, which you did quite often, you used to put a bit of soap on them, or nail varnish, to stop the ladder running.
I didn't realise you could do that with soap.
Oh yeah.
I knew about nail varnish.
Yeah, but it's not as good as the nail varnish. But of course, there again, you see, there used to be like a dry cleaning shop would have somebody in there repairing them. We used to take them to be repaired.
Really?
Yeah.
Why were they so scarce?
Well, they were imported from America. You see, we didn't have they weren't made here. And it was a new thing. To us, it was new, not to Americans. When I was at school, for my senior, I was at the Alwyn, and we had this wonderful English teacher, Mrs. Thomas. And she came in one morning, and she said, "Girls, I must show you." She said, "My sister lives in America, and she sent me a pair of nylons." And we all said, "Nylons?" So she said, "They are the most beautiful stockings you'll ever see. They're so fine." And she showed us, she put them on, and we were all like this, and we couldn't believe how something could be so sheer and so absolutely gorgeous, you know. We were all amazed, so we all aspired to get nylons.
So what did people wear before that?
Well, they were heavy stockings, sort of like a silk stocking. But I can't remember ever having those. I'm probably still wearing socks before I got my nylons, you know. In the little part that I live, there are still lots of people that I've known more or less all my life, so I'm very fortunate. But to live in this sort of Surrey Keys area, it didn't exist because it was all wharves and docks and things, so nobody lived there. We were like a little village, you see. I mean, if you went in, we never had any no tube stations. You had a bus and tram, and that was it.
Where's the nearest tube station?
I suppose London Bridge would be, or over to the city. But we sort of went by bus and you could never get a taxi if you were in town. I mean, this was even in the 40s and 50s, in the 50s even. They wouldn't come to Birmingham and say, "Sorry, I'm just going home." They wouldn't come because they couldn't get a fare back. It was, you know, once you were down here, that was it. You came home, that was it.
So it's quite remote.
In fact, my husband came from the other side of London. And if he didn't go by the last bus or the last tram, he had to walk either over London Bridge or through Rotherhithe Tunnel before he could get a taxi or anything. We were cut off, but that was it. That was our life, wasn't it? That's the way we'd lived. But most people didn't know where Bermondsey was. Bermondsey, Rotherhithe, it didn't. But we were a very, very closed community. But of course now it's so completely different, completely different. When we were children, we played in the street, and we usually played by my grandmother's house, my cousins and I, and we'd all be playing. But if we did anything wrong, every one of my grandmother's neighbours would either chastise us or report to her. No idea how we lived, no idea. But we didn't at the time We weren't aware of what we were missing.
Yeah, we didn't
It's
know
only as we've got older we realise what we miss. And to have had the education that you kids get now, well, how wonderful is that? We didn't have the opportunity.
Yeah.
We couldn't even go swimming during the war, so we never swam. Couldn't play out sort of games and things. And as for going to university, well, what's university? As far as we were concerned, it was Oxford and Cambridge.
Right, okay. So
And if you were lucky enough, which were few, got to a grammar school, you had the opportunity of having a decent education.
yeah.
But quite often it was because you didn't have the income from your family or the money, you couldn't go any further. Because they just couldn't afford to send you to these places. We never had the incentive, all right, well if you work hard you can get, but we didn't even know that we could perhaps do it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing the people that did, they did it, you know, but we certainly never knew what was out there for us. And as for going abroad, well, I don't even think, never dreamed.
Did you never go away on holiday abroad?
Oh, if you went, the furthest you ever went was Ramsgate or Margate. So that would be heaven to get to the beach, you know. I mean, during the war I was in Devon and that was different.
Yeah.
But then I was evacuated from my family. It was lovely.
Yeah. You were away from your
But
family.
I wanted to come home.
Exactly.
It wasn't, at that age, I'm not appreciating where you are. You only want to be where you were. So, but nowadays, you think nothing of getting on an aeroplane. I never dreamed that I would go to the other side of the world.
Yeah, it's just the norm now, isn't it? It's like getting on a bus.
Oh, exactly. Walk to the top of the street and you're somewhere else, aren't you? When we were children, we didn't even know we knew roughly where Germany was, obviously, and we looked at the maps. That was when we became aware of Europe, through the war. But as children growing up, we didn't know what foreigners were. We did see a foreigner occasionally, but they would be men on the boats. So they were a different world to us anyway.
So there wasn't any kind of foreigners at all, really, around?
No, didn't associate with them. No, God, if you spoke to the sea. And they were all obviously the lower class sea.
Yeah.
There would only be people that they'd stick to the area where they got off the boat and went into the pubs along the river.
Yeah.
And then back on board.
Yeah.
But they certainly never socialised with us. We had an Italian ice cream shop and a German baker and things like that. But we weren't, all right, they were the German bakers.
Yeah, bakers.
It was just a word, German bakers, and we knew they were German.
Yeah.
But
Didn't really think about it.
not really. They made lovely bread and the ice cream was very good from Italianos, as we called them. But it didn't, we weren't aware of the places they came from or why they came, which is more important really, why they'd come to Bermondsey of all places.
Yeah.
We had a few Jewish people that came, but we weren't aware of why they came. We had no electricity in there, toilet outside, no bathrooms.
Really? My goodness, I don't think I'd be able to cope with that.
Well, of course not, nor could I now, but
back then it was
we didn't have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Had a big tin bath in front of the fire Friday night.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they had the local bars where you would go, and where we went when we were old, when we were teenagers. We used to go there on a Saturday. All the girls used to go there with their turbans and curlers in, ready for going out Saturday night, you know. But, oh God, you don't know how lucky you are, really.
Yeah,
The kids of today.